So I'm going to warn you right up front. I'm probably going to step on a few toes with this video. But we're going to talk about, are you too frugal to declutter? Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about how to make money, save money, and create a retirement from nothing. Well, today we're going to be talking about a really tough subject. That is the war between a frugal nature and decluttering. When someone is frugal, it means they have great difficulty letting go of things of value or things they perceive to be of value, even if they're not valuable anymore. This is also how they tend to accumulate things. They accumulate things they perceive to have some value or that they got, quote, a deal on, and then they can't let them go. Well, if this sounds like you or someone you know, I'm going to talk about the factors that make it difficult for frugal people to get rid of things, and then I'm going to give you several practical tips, either letting go of things yourself or helping a family member let go of things if they have this frugal nature. Now, first things first, we really need to talk about what being frugal really is, the actual definition, and I'm going to read it to you. Is simple or costing little, meager or inexpensive, economical in use or expenditure, avoiding unnecessary expenditure either of money or of anything else which is to be used or consumed. Okay, now let's talk about how people use frugal. So let's be really clear, frugal and minimal are very different things. Minimalism is really not accumulating things at all. Not having anything that you own that is beyond what you absolutely need to survive. Being frugal is being very economical with your money. Buying things that last. It's not the absence of accumulating things or buying things. It's just doing so in a way that is very economical. Well, here's the problem. A lot of people have behaviors that they engage in that are allowing them to gather clutter or things they don't need, and they justify that behavior by calling it frugal. They're being frugal. And let me give you some examples. Those people that go to the dollar store, Walmart, or some other discount retailer, and they go to the clearance section, and there are all these things that are pennies on the dollar for what they normally cost. Well, often someone will buy all these things that they really don't need, that they did not go in there to buy, that they may or may not use within the next year, and they will justify that behavior by saying, oh, but that's being frugal because I'm saving money. It's very much the same as the person who goes and buys a bunch of clothes and says, oh, but they were on sale, it's fine. It's really not fine. It's allowing you to justify a behavior that really isn't serving your goal, which is to live a clutter-free life and an economical life. When you buy things you don't need, even if they were 95% off and you only spent $5, if you don't use that item, that is $5 you just wasted. So understand up front is the behavior that needs to be confronted. It's not the idea of are you frugal or are you not. It is that some people use the word frugal to justify behaviors that are actually damaging to them. Let me give you another example. And this is really true as we age. We don't want to cook anymore. We don't want to clean up anymore. We don't want to have to go to heroic efforts just to eat a meal. So often what happens is people can fall into the habit of eating the same meal day after day, week after week. Maybe it's cereal. Maybe it's ramen noodles. Maybe it's, the heat and eat burritos. Whatever it is, that you're doing, think about what that is doing to your long-term health. Everything is a trade-off, and you can convince yourself that that is a great behavior because you're being frugal. You're saving lots of money. But think about what it's costing you in terms of long-term health, in terms of energy, in terms of sleep habits. What you eat affects all those things. But yet some people can justify that behavior by saying, oh, but I'm saving money, because saving money is somehow virtuous. And so we convince ourselves that that is more important than eating really good food and taking care of ourselves. So that is another way people can use frugal to justify a damaging behavior. Another example is that a lot of people who consider themselves frugal will hang on to things that are damaged, broken. They can't seem to throw things away because they have convinced themselves those things have value, and it's against their frugal nature to just toss them out. And honestly, that's one of the hardest things to understand. If you're trying to help someone get rid of things, you may not be able to understand for the life of you why someone would keep something that's broken and has no use. But it is a psychological battle that person is waging with themselves because they have mentally assigned that item value. And even though you can clearly see it has no value, it takes time for them to come to that understanding, and it's a battle. And the last example of how being frugal can really trip you up is if you use a lot of coupons to buy things that you really don't need. Honestly, manufacturers create coupons to try and get you out of your normal buying habits and buy their new products or things that are really processed, or new drinks, new soft drinks, things you don't really need or want. But they give you a coupon to try and encourage you to change those buying habits. And once you've purchased things like that with a coupon and you have a frugal nature, it becomes very hard to get rid of those things, even if they're past their expiration date. I want to really emphasize, being frugal versus decluttering is not about stuff. It's not about just getting rid of stuff. It is about identifying that behavior that doesn't serve you and dealing with the behavior, and then dealing with getting rid of things. One of the problems with justifying a behavior with something virtuous like being frugal, the difficulty in letting that item go is because it means you have to go back and admit you were wrong to buy that thing in the first place. That's very difficult to do. So people will constantly justify it. Oh, no, let's go ahead and keep those 42 candles because, I could use them for gifts. But yet you haven't in the last 2 or 3 years. But we will continue to justify that original decision because in order to get rid of things, we have to admit that original decision, that original assignment of that behavior, of it being frugal. That's why we bought all those things. We have to go back and say, yeah, that was a mistake. We need to get rid of those things. We didn't need them. That's hard. If you had a bathtub that was running over, you wouldn't run in and just start trying to mop up first. You would turn off the water. And that is my first tip when dealing with a frugal person, or if you are that person, shut off the water. Stop doing those behaviors and challenge yourself to do it for 30 days. For example, if your habit is to go to the dollar store or always peruse the clearance aisles at any store you're at, challenge yourself to stop that behavior for 30 days. Anytime you do something for 30 days, it can become a habit. And so once you start really focusing on the behaviors and stopping yourself from buying things you really don't need, buying things you really don't want, getting out of the mindset that it's a good deal just because it's on sale, then that will become a habit over time. But understand, if you've been this way for decades, or the person you're dealing with has been this way for decades, it's going to be a 2 steps forward and 1 step back process. You have to constantly work at it. Number 2, if you're going to start decluttering and you have a frugal mindset, one of the easiest things to do is start with what I would call the low-hanging fruit. Just walk through your space. Don't try and do one whole room or one whole closet. Just walk through the space. Look for things that are broken, that are stained, that are torn, things that need to truly be thrown away, that are trash. You have walked by these things probably numerous times and you just didn't see them because they've always been there. But take a trash bag with you. Look for those things in your closet, shirts that are torn, pants that don't fit, anything that can go. And put those things in that garbage bag and let them go. That is one of the easiest ways to start. Start with that low-hanging fruit, the things you can identify that need to be trash, and go ahead and trash those things. The next thing you can do is look for anything recyclable. Paper, cardboard. This includes magazines, old newspapers, boxes. You can recycle glass in most areas. So anything that needs to go to be recycled is easy. When someone has a frugal mindset, they perceive everything has value. So if something can be recycled, that means there's going to be value gotten out of that thing. That's something easy to let go. There's going to be value there. Someone's going to get use out of that. It's one of the harder things for frugal people to overcome, and that's why they don't like to throw things away. So if it can be recycled, go ahead and recycle it. And these steps are perfect if you're helping someone too. Just walk through these steps slowly and ask them questions. Is this something that can be thrown away? Is it broken? Is it torn? Is this something can be recycled? Because, if it's recycled, there's another use for it. That'll be great. Frugal people can immediately grasp that. Now the last one, and honestly it's the hardest, is getting rid of things that they perceive do have value. So it's somewhat easy to get even frugal people to sell things. They're getting something for it. So it makes sense to have a garage sale or sell things on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or wherever. It makes sense to do that. The real challenge comes when you have a lot of things that don't really have a really good value. They're not worth selling. You can oftentimes donate those items, but call ahead and make sure whomever you're going to be donating those items to accepts those items, because some things they don't accept. Because when you donate to an organization, if it's something they can turn around and sell and then use the money for the good of that organization or that nonprofit, that's a win all the way around. And here again, when someone has that perception of value, they want someone to get use out of it. It's not that they're just being difficult or they're just refusing to get rid of things. It's because that perception of value is tripping them up. And I'm going to be honest with you right here. Dealing with someone who is incredibly frugal, especially the older they get, we become much more stubborn about these things as we get older. And dealing with someone who is very set, has a very set mindset, that all of these things have tremendous value, that is a huge challenge. But if you don't address that underlying psychological issue before you get rid of those things, they will just reclutter the whole place. So that's not helpful. And if you're the one that is frugal and has an issue with accumulating things you don't use, then I challenge you right now to spend 30 days addressing the behaviors before you even try to declutter anything. Get the water shut off. Address the behaviors that is allowing you to continue to bring things into your home that is creating the clutter. Because if you don't address that behavior, you will never be able to really truly declutter in a way that makes you happy. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.